We are live now, in principle. Testing live, testing live. And we are live.
Excellent.
We're showing live.
Excellent.
Hello, everybody.
All
Good evening, Aburo Boy. This is just a little test between Teresa and myself here for something new and exciting that the Consejo Cultural Yoruba de Canada and the Crones Corner have been cooking up in the cauldron.
we definitely have with our new program called the Ancestral Eyes.
So that's it. So,
all right. So do you want to go ahead and describe what it's about, Jean-Jerome?
Well, I'll let you do the honors. Do the honors while I check the transmission. Okay.
All right. You do all the technical work, and I will babble
That's
on
it.
in the background. Okay. So here I go. So, Ancestral Eyes is a live podcast channel that we want to do, and we basically put this together because we were thinking about doing something as far as communicating with other faiths and interfaith communication. All right, so in other words, we don't want to just sit here, as people of Ifá or of Catholic background or of Wiccan or shaman and just kind of keep to ourselves. We want to have an open dialogue amongst all the other faiths and spiritual belief systems. Okay. So I think this is a great opportunity. I've already made my list, my guest list, just from my Facebook page, all my buddies and my friends.
The secret list. The secret list.
The secret list, yes.
People
so
are gonna
I
have
will
to tune in to find out who's on that list.
I'm going to have to start knocking on some Facebook doors, right? And going, hey,
right.
Would you like to come on board and do a live podcast? And I think some people will be very excited to do this. I really do. I think this will be a good idea. Well, it'll give them a good channel to be able to come out, talk about what their belief system is, but kind of open the dialogue so that we all can talk, and it's not an attack or, what is it that you do as much as it's, so what are your thoughts? What are you thinking about?
Absolutely. Just to give a little background to everybody, we ran a on-site series once a month, spiritual belief system series at York University for a number of years. Unfortunately, the funding and the resources for that within York at the Harriet Tubman Institute, and we have videos and photographs posted from some of those events, were basically, they had to stop the series. But we've done, as the Consejo, we've done a few interviews with that channel, with Hugh Riley at that channel, with Beth, our beloved Beth, member of the community, Beth appeared Weeks, and we've also had the privilege of doing other lives with Bokono Daniel Dafoji in Uruguay, with Baba Faseye in Florida, and with many other people over the years. So this is something now we'd like to formalize into an actual weekly series. We're hoping the show is going to be an hour and 15 minutes. Okay, an hour of main content and then 15 minutes for questions and things from the audience.
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, and we are looking. Hola, Anka. Hola, Dulzurita. We're also testing. That's why tonight we're just doing a test, and we wanted to do a quick live introduction to this new show we're producing, Livestream show, again, Ancestral Eyes. So our format is going to be essentially myself and Teresa, and perhaps other guest hosts from time to time, to basically introduce guests of other faiths, other belief systems, even some people that practice other indigenous or spiritual belief systems, sometimes mislabeled as occult. but
or paranormal.
or paranormal, okay, or paranormal, and
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
and I think what a lot of people will get from these transmissions is that the paranormal, the supernatural, is the most natural thing. That we live
Yeah,
in this world
exactly.
in a material veil, but the
Mm-hmm.
spiritual side is always close by. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and
No,
uh,
perfect. Yep.
and the main thing as well is our hope is to offer invitations to, again, people, practitioners, representatives of other faiths, and to have
Mm-hmm.
always, number one thing, a respectful dialogue to really
Yes.
get to the root
Mm-hmm.
of the matter, to understand the belief system, understand its history,
Mm-hmm.
its current
Mm-hmm.
practice, its,
Mm-hmm.
what countries or localities
Mm-hmm.
it is practiced, the communities, and really so that the people who practice different belief systems and spiritual belief systems do not feel isolated or ostracized from
Mm-hmm.
mainstream
Mm-hmm.
society,
Mm-hmm.
right? And because all these belief systems, in many cases, reserve the same respect, and in
Mm-hmm.
some cases have histories and
Mm-hmm.
cultures and
Mm-hmm.
spiritual elements and jewels
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
as older than even some of the mainstream beliefs like Islam or Christianity, etc. They're
Mm-hmm.
millennium old. So
No,
that's why
exactly.
we're trying to do this show once a week, an hour and 15 minutes. The day we're
Mm-hmm.
going to do it, we're still discussing it. And if on this test broadcast, if anybody has suggestions on what's a good night for this show to air, so that you think people would be
Mm-hmm.
available, we'll definitely take that into consideration.
No, I think it's good. The other
Yeah.
thing that I wanted to mention with regards to it being an interfaith dialogue, open dialogue, is also to give people a chance to explain what it was that they were excited about their belief system, what drew them to their spiritual path. Was there something in particular? Was it something that they stumbled upon? Or was this intrinsically always something they felt inside of themselves? Okay, because I think for me, I can't speak for anybody else, but I'm thinking about the sense of the occult, right? But it really is getting in touch with our magical side, okay, which is so important. A lot of the Abrahamic religions don't really identify with that, and they kind of squish that down. Meanwhile, we really need to, like you said, it's totally natural, okay, to think in a magical way. We are magical beings, okay? So I would like to know what people's backgrounds were, like if they decided to go on this path, what brought them there? What were their belief systems? Was it their original belief systems, or was it something else that brought them there? So, yeah, no, I think it's a great idea. I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to it. I really am, you
Well,
know?
absolutely. And again, the show is to do a basically introduction, and basically open the dialogue. It's not the
Mm-hmm,
only thing we're going to be doing, and probably there may be events or breakout events
mm-hmm,
or opportunities to delve deeper into some subject matters,
mm-hmm,
both in private and public live streams, and really do a job, a little bit of an ethnology job, an anthropological job,
mm-hmm,
really
mm-hmm,
looking at the belief systems, giving people an
mm-hmm,
opportunity to talk about their experiences.
mm-hmm.
Right now, thinking about doing this reminds me of the work my mom did with UNESCO in Cuba, in terms of
Ah,
the
okay.
study and the
Uh-huh.
research of the different Afro-descendant belief systems in Cuba that was basically culminated in some research works that were published at the Smithsonian.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, in honor of my mom's memory as well, I'm very happy to be doing this with Teresa.
You know what? And that just reminded me of another guest I added to the list.
the
Now,
list,
the other thing
secret
too
list
is,
grows bigger.
oh yeah, the infamous list. The other thing too to remember is that people, any of these people that we invite, if they have an event that's coming up, that would be a good opportunity for them to introduce the event, what the event is all about, or if they are accomplished authors, okay, and to promote themselves or talk about their previous, books that they have written, so that would be interesting too, because they can bring and, promote themselves, right? So why not? I think it's a great idea. Yeah, no, as soon as you said that about your mom, I went, I know another person I would love to talk to. I think he would be interesting, but yes, oh my goodness, I'm just looking at this and, here I'm talking about authors and I forgot about another person, another guest. Jeez Louise. Here we go. Let's put her on here, okay? Because, yeah. No, I think this is great. So I'm looking forward to, okay. All right. So I have my list. What about your list? Like how many people?
It's a big list and it's international too. And it's multilingual. The other thing for people listening,
mine is too. Mine is international too. Okay, I know some international people.
Yes, you do. That's true.
Yes. No. Hold on a second. My earbud just fell out of my ear here. Okay.
This is why we're doing this test show, to let everybody know, do a little intro, and to test out some of the technologies and make sure that we don't have any surprises when you're expecting our broadcast, so the broadcast can start in a timely fashion, hopefully.
Or we don't have technical difficulties like this. Oops, my earbud just fell out of my head, right? Okay. So, all right. So hold on a second. I got to do a count. I'm doing a head count of the guests that I think should come on board. Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. I got 20 guests so far. Who you got? How many you got?
Well, I have at least 15.
I got you beat.
Yes, you do.
When you were talking about that channel, honest to God, you know what I was thinking? I was going to say, I can't believe you're going to say Bat Channel.
The Bat Channel. Almost. That's the thing, yes.
Oh, you know what else we could do?
Yes.
You know how you and I always like to chat in private about our certain topics and everything.
Yes.
We could have those, topics, where we just go into the I was going to say the abyss. No, into the wormhole, and away we go.
Absolutely.
No, I would love to have those talks, because I think sometimes I really enjoy the talks just between you and I. They're private and everything, but at the same time, I'd like to be able to share those, with other people.
And we've religiously, we've worked on many cases, many situations where people have needed help. And for those seeing us on my profile right now for this test transmission, again, Teresa is a very gifted medium. Somebody which I've worked very closely with in certain cases. She's asked me to, in some cases, come in when Spirit moved her and told her that Ifá needed to intervene or to assist as well. So we've developed a very good working relationship, very professional relationship in terms of helping people and providing information to people and again, in this time of pandemic, and when many people are respecting quarantine and being safe at home, I think it's very important to have something which allows us to get out of our homes, at least to at least show that we can still learn, we can still let our spirits soar, we can let our spirits travel the world through cultures and through belief systems and through experiences without feeling the four walls caving in, which many people feel confined, right? So nothing like opening up the spirit to allow that to dissipate,
and sharing dreams, the dreams that we've had and stuff. This is, and again, I'm going to mention Father Fred, okay? Because Father Fred, this was basically his idea with me, and I mean, this was something I was thinking in the back of my head at some point in time. I would love to do something with podcasts, and then another friend, Zarina, mentioned. She goes, "You should be a podcaster." I'm like, "Oh yeah, why?" Because I talk a lot, right? But anyway, I think that this is a great idea. I'm just like looking through my books here. clear through everything that I had written previously, the things we talked about. Oh, and the other thing too is, like I said, our many discussions between the two of us, and some of the movies that we have seen or not seen or want to see, anything that has to do with, the occult, the paranormal, and Bigfoot.
That's a very interesting. That's a very interesting topic. And again, one of the things that we'd like this show to basically to point out. Teresa and I have had many movie commentaries. We're almost like movie critics.
Yeah.
Not so much on the cinematography or other
No,
merits of the movie, but in areas where there's movies about the supernatural, spiritual traditions, and everything else, to see how popular culture and Hollywood and other film producers and directors have been able to capture, research, and transmit messages and elements of various cultures and belief systems through the big screen and the Netflix. So for many of us, we're on the Netflix now, or the streaming.
Or Tubi TV, whatever you call it. But you know what? It's like I was telling you, I was recommending that movie the other night that I had seen, and it was I think it was from New Zealand, right? What was it called again? I forgot the title of it. I mentioned it.
Which one was it?
The Haunted House or something or other.
Oh, yes. I forgot.
But it was pertinent to what's happening now, because the person lockdown. No, that's not what it was called. I don't know. Anyway, whatever. I'll get the title at a different time. But that, again, in reference to other countries, other cultures, how do, when you look at through someone else's lens, through their eyes, how do they approach the supernatural? How do they approach the occult? Because each country looks at it completely different. There's been some titles, because I'm always all about the occult and, well, not so much the occult as much as the paranormal investigating shows go, right? And there was, and documentaries, because I've watched the documentaries too. Some of the documentaries are fascinating, and they're also, I've even watched, like, they're done in different countries. There was one done in Israel, and they were talking in Hebrew. There was one show that I saw, and I believe it was Japan. I think it might have been Japan. Again, fascinating how they approach the supernatural. Absolutely. And again, when you think about the paranormal investigations they were doing, these are the ancestors, and the ghosts, the spirits that live in their land, and how do they interact with them?
Ashe. That is fascinating. And example as well, you mentioned certain countries. Also, there's been a resurgence in Korean movies depicting shamanistic, not Christian, because Christianity is very big in Korea now, South Korea. But now South Korea with Netflix has produced several films that have a historical context and a spiritual one, looking at the indigenous beliefs of shamanism in Korea and their beliefs in the supernatural, in spirits, in questions of the undead, in exorcisms, in appeasing the elements, and everything else. So it's fascinating to see
I wrote down
those
someone
parallels.
else's name.
And again, for those people that practice either Ifá Òrìṣà, as I do, or practice other Vodun modalities, or Palo, or pagan, different forms of pagan, like Wicca, or any other
traditional witchcraft,
etc. It's wonderful to have affirmation also, and to see how spirit moves and speaks through different cultures and different ancestral contexts, and that you're really speaking, many of the commonalities really join us. Our differences don't really separate us, and that's why I think it's very important to be able to, again, bring a little bit of the element of popular culture, movies. There's been a resurgence in Icelandic and Norwegian beliefs, like in terms of Norse mythology, with
Yes, and
series.
Iceland. Oh my
Exactly.
God. I mean, they're so open about their paganism and about their culture. You know, it they believe in the little people. In fact, they have, what was it? I came across some article recently on Facebook. They actually make little homes and on the roadsides for the little people, okay?
Yeah,
And
definitely.
one of my favorite people that I used to love watching on television, I still watch him, Expedition Unknown, Josh Gates, okay,
Hmm.
because he travels all over the place, right? And also, what the Canadian equivalent? Oh, what's his name? I can't think of his name. You know who he is, Jean-Jerome. Um, he Survivor Man. I can't think of his
No, no,
name.
no, no, no. Can't think of it. Can't think of it.
Len Stroud. Les
Okay.
Stroud. Yes, I
Okay.
think that's his name. Jesus, I know it's Stroud. Whatever. Anyway, he did, besides the Survivor Man, he did a little small. I don't know. They were like 12 episodes or something, and it all had to do with shamanisms of different cultures. He actually went to those different countries. He experienced, like he even took ayahuasca, and he partook in the rituals themselves, right? Josh Gates has done that too. So, I mean, these are guys I've always admired. These are sort of like my, not my mentors, but the ones I look up to, right? As far as
Absolutely.
things like that, right? So I love stuff like that,
And
definitely. And it's funny. Speaking of the paranormal, sorry,
go ahead. Go
I'm on
ahead.
a
Go. Go.
roll
Go.
now.
Go for it.
The paranormal, the way they investigate, like the traditional American shows that you see, they get the cameras, they go out there, and they all stand back. And it's funny how they do it in other countries, like I was telling you, the documentaries I was looking at, and the way they deal with the supernatural. There some of the, I think it was the one in Japan, they're not, they don't sort of shirk back and get scared. They sort of really kind of go for it, and they're in there, with the cameras, and looking at the situation, and talking
Absolutely.
about it. And they're dead serious. Then you take another documentary that I saw with the paranormal in India, you know, and talk about the spirits there. Woo! I mean, like literally, I would just sit there, watch this, and these guys, like they're kind of comical in a way, right? Because they sort of go and then they jump back because this demonic entity or whatever it is banging at the door, right? But it's interesting just to see how they approach it, and how they deal with it. But the commonality is they all got the little camera, right? The little video camera, right? And when they run, and the whole camera just shakes, right? It's a hoot, it's a holler. But no, I think it's good. I love those kind of things, right? So yeah, even talking about that and see what if we can try to get some people to talk about that. I know of someone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did I put his name down
You're
here?
adding. You're adding them to the secret list.
Yes,
Uh,
adding to the secret list. So now I am at 21. What number are you on?
I'm still at 15.
I got you
Uh,
beat, Batman.
that's it. That's it.
Okay,
Uh,
where did I put his name? Okay, go ahead. What were you
for
going to say? Oh, here we
for
are.
I think I also want to do a shout out. One of the groups I really would like to extend an invitation to. People, First Nations. There are
Yes.
many faith keepers and spirit talkers here in Canada that
Mm-hmm.
basically where the indigenous culture and the belief systems and their spirituality, and some of them are
Mm-hmm.
gifted mediums. I had the privilege of attending one of the sessions
Yes.
from Sean Leonard, Mi'kmaq, First
Mm-hmm.
Nations, Nova Scotia, and
Mm-hmm.
very gifted medium. And he teaches classes on mediumship here in Canada,
Mm-hmm.
and and I have
Oh,
great
wow.
respect
Okay, cool.
for that. And again, love to have Sean Leonard hopefully be able to be one of the people to come on the show as an
Yes.
open shout out.
Yes.
And
Yes.
hopefully he's watching.
Yes.
He'll watch this show. And
Yes.
again,
Can I
it's very
mention my friends that
sure,
I want
sure, sure,
on
sure.
board? Okay, I have to ask them, but I'm sure she'll probably say yes. Brenda McIntyre, Medicine Song Woman, right? I would love for her to come on and talk and have a chat. And I know I'm going to say her name, Catherine Gorman Lovelady, and her husband, Brian. Okay. I'm
Okay,
saying that now, and hopefully they'll say yes, but I would love for them to come on board and talk.
absolutely,
All right.
absolutely.
As Indigenous leaders and elders, so no, for sure.
No, I think it's very important. I mean, we're having a discussion this morning at training session for some young Awus with Baba Nelson of Ifá World Conference. A shout out and my respects to
Hmm.
our Ifá World Conference team, which is essentially 17 Babalaos doing
Wow.
research on an ongoing basis from around the world, from in Europe, in Mexico, in the States,
Hmm.
in Nigeria, and basically collecting information, trying to rescue some of the historic linguistic
Perfect.
essay of
Hmm.
Ifas and some
Hmm.
of the other things that, through time and translation and language deformation were
Hmm.
lost, right? And,
Exactly.
you know,
Exactly.
and in that discussion, we were again trying to speak about the importance of if you practice Ifá, Òrìṣà, if you practice any modality of from West African spirituality or African spirituality, if you are practicing that faith in this
Hmm.
land, in a land of First Nations, a land of indigenous populations in their own right, and in
Yeah. Yeah.
this
Yeah.
earth,
Yeah.
this part of the earth, that it is
Hmm.
always important to at least have out of
Hmm.
respect, an
Hmm.
understanding, and a
Hmm.
historical background in terms of the belief systems on which and the land on which you are. Where there are other ancestors of different bloodlines, ancestors of that sometimes span hundreds of years, centuries,
Hmm.
sometimes millennia. If you go into the
Hmm.
cultures in Mexico, the Aztecs, Toltecs, Chichimec,
Yes.
Mayan, etc. Um,
Hmm. Hmm.
and there are
Hmm.
many. As I said, there's a richness, a huge treasure trove
Hmm.
of belief and of cultural anecdotes and
Hmm.
context that
Hmm.
allow you to understand that our belief systems are not siloed. They don't just work in little
Hmm.
separate little islands, but that we're
No.
part of
No.
one world. And if this pandemic and if this situation that this world is going through now, in terms of the response of Mother Earth, in terms of the constant abuse to nature, to the animals, to the
Yes.
basically
Hmm.
sustainability of this planet has shown
Yes.
in this outbreak of disease, at
Hmm.
least that all these countless thousands of people that have
Hmm.
sadly
Hmm.
lost their lives, that
Hmm.
that loss of life, it not be in vain, but that it
No.
show a
Hmm.
renewed consciousness, a renewed respect for our
Yes.
ancestors,
Yes.
a
Yes.
renewed respect
Totally. Ashe.
for our elders,
Ashe.
and an understanding that Mother
Hmm.
Earth, and we have to remind ourselves, Mother Earth doesn't need us. We need Mother Earth. So, which in Yoruba we call Inleogere or Nile, which
Hmm.
is in itself is the oldest Orisha in a sense, the first Orisha on
Hmm.
Earth. And
Yes.
I think it's very important for
Turtle
people
Mother
to
Earth.
exactly
Hmm.
exactly. So I think it's very important as well, and that's why I look forward to as well the responsibility, not just the privilege
Hmm. Hmm.
of professing or working in spiritual belief systems, but the
Hmm.
responsibility that it comes with and that it brings in terms of being custodians of history, custodians of our ancestral traditions, custodians of Mother Earth and
Yes.
nature itself.
And mythologies.
Absolutely.
Living mythologies. This is what our ancestors are. They are seeped in the mythologies, in the cultures of different people, and it's important to speak of them, right? Because a lot of cultures, when they speak of their mythology, they're always set in stories like Ifa, right? And if you break it down, what are those meanings? What's the message that our
Ashe,
ancestors want to tell
ashe,
us, right?
ashe,
Through
ashe,
those stories, right? And each
ashe.
culture has that. They have the mythologies. Like when you think about, like, for example, just Greek or Roman mythologies, right? And everybody is familiar with them. But those stories, I mean, if you think about it, what are they really saying? What are they really telling us, right? So this is something that I would really like to speak to people who are from those cultures, from those mythologies. They are the living mythology, so to speak. The what am I trying to say? The descendants of those ancestors, right? So I
And,
think it's great.
and it's very important because if you've seen the
Mm-hmm.
revival of Norse mythology and actually practice in Iceland, they've actually opened a church to the Norse gods, and essentially a
Or
temple to the Norse god. Yeah,
and the
and
Lithuanians, Romuva. Okay,
exactly.
so there's another person I thought of.
There you go. So I think it's very important to see that Ifá and
Mm-hmm.
Òrìṣà and Vodunfa, have been able to. One of the things that, especially the Afro-descendant ancestors, even
Mm-hmm.
under the worst conditions of the slave Holocaust, were able to keep these belief systems alive. They're
Mm-hmm.
not simply
Mm-hmm.
mythologies, but they're living, breathing spiritual belief systems, and
Exactly.
represent a dialogue with the spirit world, and not just a
Mm-hmm.
one-way communication. So,
Exactly.
and you're seeing an awakening, almost an ancestral awakening, as
Yes.
my friend
Yes.
Daniel Dafoji Bokono in Yoruba often says, an ancestral awakening of the different
Yes.
cultures and their
Mm-hmm.
belief systems
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
their old ancient practices, right?
Mm-hmm. And tapping into that, exactly. Like one of my favorite Facebook pages, Magpie's Corner, and all the Eastern European Slavic mythologies. It, I mean, it's endless. We could go on and on and on and on and on and
Yeah.
on. As many people on this planet and each different culture and country, right? No, I'm excited. I think this is great.
No,
Yeehaw. Okay. So who should we should I start the first person, call them tomorrow or something and go, hey, we've got this idea, right?
well, hopefully they'll see the show and when we call them, they won't be surprised. Uh,
No, exactly.
No, we'll send out, as I say, I'll be posting in the Consejo Cultural Yoruba group, and we'll be posting on the
Uh-huh.
Crones Corner.
Yes,
We'll
and
be
I'll be
posting
posting it on my personal page.
personal
I'm
page
down
as
to
well.
15% battery on my phone, so hold on.
Yeah, yeah,
Technical difficulties once again, right?
yeah. It's charging phones, and
Charging phones. Yes.
we'll be posting the the basically the show idea, what we're doing, and
Hmm.
some a tentative start date. We'd like to start this show actually this week. We're actually you know,
Yeah.
we're trying to, get this off the ground, and hopefully
Hmm.
we'll have our first guest announced probably midweek, and
Okay.
probably try to go live by the end of the week. And we'll post that exact dates, and we'll have an invite and a shout out to everybody to join us. Um,
Perfect.
yeah, and I wanted to give a shout out as well to. I think it's very important to give a shout out to Into the Abyss show, and to Sean
Yes.
and Zarina.
Sean Gilmore and Zarina Crow for
Exactly.
giving me the opportunity to come on the show and talk about my paranormal investigations and a chance to talk about my spiritual beliefs. And yeah, no, because I mean, without them, I wouldn't have known that I could do this, right? I mean, I knew I could do this. I love chatting. I love talking and stuff like that. So I know I could do this. But it was also, I want to mention again, Father Fred, right? It was his initiative. It was
100%.
him kicking me in the butt, going, "Hey, come on, girl, you got to start this," right? So anyway, I think it's a great idea. Okay, good.
Yeah, yeah. So everybody's comments. Thank you. We really appreciate your feedback. Um,
Hmm.
Today's broadcast or test broadcast is between Teresa and myself is all in English. Some of the
Yes.
broadcasts will be in Spanish,
So I
and
and so I'll just sit there and nod.
that's it. We'll translate. We'll translate.
Okay,
Uh,
good. All right. Sounds like a
we
plan.
Babalaos multitask. Um, so, we're hoping, as I said, to start this week and be
Hmm.
able to get everything going. So we'll keep everybody posted. Thank you, everybody.
Hmm. Yes, thank
Jezreel,
you.
Pacayode, Esi Mike, Juan Gonzalez Sr., Marco Antonio, Andrea, Sherry, Juan Gonzalez again, Ruby, Rose, Lily. I'm trying to get everybody here. Raymond Garcia, David Goodwin, Anka, La Dulzurita. Thank you all for your comments and support of this test broadcast of the.
And that was just our test broadcast.
It was just a test broadcast, and it's very late. It's just past midnight now. So.
Oh my goodness! Yes. Yeah,
so,
and I gotta let the dogs out and all that kind of stuff. Regular human work.
If anybody asks who let the dogs out, you all know it's Teresa. All right. So.
All right. Thank you.
Right, thank you, everybody. We'll be in touch this week, and we'll be posting this test podcast in the Crones Corner in the Consejo Cultural. And stay tuned for announcements and our show synopsis. And again, we'll be sending out formal invitations to everybody we gave a shout out today. Okay, thank you very much. And have a good night.
All right. Good night. Okay. Bye.